Hi everybody and welcome to the Improved Garage YouTube channel. Today what I'm going to be working on is this Scion behind me. So this car is a 2005 Scion XB, first gen XB. Very basic, but it's still, power windows, power door locks, automatic transmission. It has no cruise control, which is fun. Air conditioning works, just about everything on it. It's got 112,000 miles. I purchased this about a year ago from my company. So they were going to trade it on a transit van, Ford Transit, and it was a trade-in, so the trade-in value was fairly low. They were getting like $1,000 for it, and it had a couple electrical issues and different things like that. So I just offered to buy it for the same amount that they were getting for a trade-in. I intended to get it and then fix it and flip it, but I ended up keeping it because my stepdaughter needed a car temporarily for a couple of months, and then I don't know. It's been a while now that I have it, so I'm trying to decide whether or not I want to sell this or I want to sell the Mazda. I'm going to sell one of them because really, like, we have two drivers. We don't need four cars. But the problem that I'm having with it is the power door locks are intermittently not functioning. So I just pressed the button, and it looks like all four of them went down. But what I've noticed is they're sluggish, and especially if it's sitting out in the sun for a little while. Like I just hit the unlock, and that one opened. But if I lock it, it goes down really slowly. Sometimes it doesn't lock at all. Sometimes certain doors don't lock, and I'm having that problem with all four doors. So I looked around eBay, Amazon, different places. There are a couple sites online that are talking about problems with door lock actuators. So these are the door lock actuators. So these are basically electronic. They plug in. There's a motor in there that moves this physical mechanism up and down. There's an electric connector on the bottom there to connect to the harness. Every door is different. So you'll see, like, I think these are the two fronts, and they're mirror images of each other. These are the two rears, and again, they're mirror images of each other. I didn't pay a lot for these, although it looks like these two are different brands, but they all came in the same box. I'll post the link in the description to the place where I bought them from on Amazon. They should be the same for any of the first-gen Scion, so I think it's 2004 through 2008. But we'll start with the passenger side. That was something that I was kind of taught early on when we were working on car stereos. Start on the passenger side first. Then if you make a mistake, you don't have to live with it on the driver's side. So, got a Phillips here, up high in the door. Take that out. There's Phillips in this door cup. And most door skins, they'll have there's usually a screw inside the handle that you use to open the door. There's usually a screw inside the handle that you use to close the door. And that makes sense because they don't want you bending the door to try to get this to shut the door. They want you to be grabbing onto the metal. So this is what's attaching this to the metal that's actually on the door skin. Oftentimes there are fasteners around the edges. So this has nothing on the bottom or side. Sometimes there are some vertical ones that are hidden up in here. This one doesn't have any of those. There is this is like a quarter turn. All right, got that. And that should be all of it. Then there are usually snaps all the way around. Oftentimes these snaps are going to break, especially on a car this old. Um, the snaps are available at most places like AutoZone, O'Reilly's, those types of places. They have universal kits that, in this case I would want a Toyota because Scion is made by Toyota. So then when I pull the door panel off, what we will usually find is there's a harness that's connecting the lock mechanisms, the window mechanism, something like that. So that's what I have here. There's a little button on the inside. There's usually a button or some sort of release. On some brands of cars, the actual handle mechanism, like this piece here, will be attached to the door card, and this will come off too. Mercedes does that. So you actually have to pull this like metal cable that opens the door off of the door panel. So this one's pretty basic though. So that's what we're looking at on the inside of the car. The wiring's actually a little janky from the factory on this. It's interesting. It's weird that they didn't wrap this harness back to the speaker, but I can clean that up when I'm putting it back together. So the door lock actuator is usually down at the bottom of this pin. So it's usually mounted down in here. It's probably what this harness here is feeding. So we'll just peel back this vapor barrier. And this is kind of tough. This is made of a thin plastic. It's maybe twice as thick as saran wrap, and it often rips like that. And really, you care about this seal being good. So oftentimes it makes more sense, rather than to try to tear this apart, to cut a hole and then use like duct tape or something like that to cover it up. I'm going to see if I can just kind of cut the glue here on the side. And it's not glue, it's more like a putty. It stays kind of soft all the time. Yeah, it's not going to work. So I guess what we'll do is we'll cut this back and seal it up when we're done. So it's a little hard to see, but inside here you can see the mechanism up high there, and it's connecting to the lock rod on the top side. That's what this is. It's the rod that goes up to this physical button. So it looks like it's mounted to a metal bracket that is then bolted to this inner door skin. So guessing that's a 10 millimeter. I grab a 10. Try taking it off. All right, so two 10 millimeter bolts, they come out. It actually looks like I only needed to remove the one 10 millimeter bolt, because this doesn't seem to be moving when I'm flexing this. It does look to be attached. Just kind of look at this here. So still attached. So I guess what I'm going to end up doing then is removing the mech from the side here. I'll just drop the whole thing out. T30. Okay, so that seems better. I'm stuck behind the, there's a window rail here that the rail slides up and down in, and I'm kind of on the mech is on the other side of that. So I'm going to loosen up this bolt here that mounts the bottom of the rail, and we'll see if that gives us enough room. It seems to. I'm also so this mech is attached to a couple different things. There's a the actuator is connected to it. There seems to be a bolt or something inside. It's attached to this rod. It's attached to this door handle cable, and then it's also attached to the exterior door handle on the other side of the door, the one that you would use to get into the car from outside. So what I'm trying to do here is disconnect the shaft. I might just need to cut this open a little bit more so I can work a little better here. Yeah, and it actually screws in from the back side, so this is all kinds of fun to change. All right. Got the pry bar here. Got it. Okay. So just to kind of show what I was trying to do here, so there's this metal rod, and that gets pushed into a hole here, and then this piece kind of snaps down around the top of it. So I got that rod out, and that should give me the room that I need. I have to unscrew this. Okay. This actually just snaps in. All right. So that's removed. This rod is disconnected. And there's another one that's attached to the door lock. Let me see if I have any room to kind of All right. So I think I've got enough here that I can actually work with. So inside the door, the mechanism is basically like this. These are the screws that go in there. This is the door lock pin that sits up here. This connects to the actual key lock on the door, and this is the door handle that opens the door. The piece that I'm trying to change is this, but it's screwed in from the back, so it's not exactly easy to get to. It's just 2 Phillips screws. So that's it. There's my old mechanism, so we'll find the one. This one matches it. And goes right there. And then alright, so screw that in. Screw this guy in. And tighten them up. And then we can stick this back up in the door. I'll test it before I put everything back together. I just kind of want to get it up and out of the way. So you're putting it back up in the door. You have to, this window rail has to go behind this one, but in front of the other 2 rods. And you have to make sure that you get this rod behind this door and then up in here. And then it goes right there. So it actually went in a heck of a lot easier than it came out. In hindsight, it's a better idea to connect these linkage rods before you screw it in. So if I was doing it again, that's what I would do next time. And then I'm going to screw this window rail back in, 10 mil. that's in there. We'll put this bolt I didn't need to remove. This one I did. This one bolts in the actuator. This just bolts in a metal rail that's behind here. So, oops. Snap this back in. So this gets, it's like 2 hooks, and then this part in the back, and then it gets screwed in by the door panel. There's a screw at the top that makes that solid. Let's plug the furnace in. So that's plugged in. So get the door card. All right. Gonna pop this switch out of here. Well, it doesn't appear to be working. So let me shut the door, use the key fob. All right, well, it doesn't seem to be moving the actuator. So I guess we get to take it back apart. there's a pin that's bent in this connector, which I'm gonna grab a pair of needle nose pliers and try to flatten that out. So, found my issue. You make it, it's not exactly easy to test this. You can't really manipulate these cables to a point where you can plug this thing in too well without it mounted where it's supposed to be. Aha! Now it's working. Great. So, let's put this in again. I have to straddle that. This time we'll connect these first, or at least get them where they need to go. Okay, so that's the door handle. That's the door lock. And they're just kind of these snap clips. So it's like right there in the center of the video, right here. There's like this white clip that snaps onto this sideways, and then the bar is L-shaped, and it's got a pin that kind of sticks in there. Same thing with this. You can see that one a little bit better. So this spins out of the way, and then it unsnaps. So, all right, so that's back in-ish. This is down. Okay, that's where it needs to be. So now I can put some bolts here. Snap that guy back in. And this was just kind of flush with that. And this is like a piece of metal that sits on a rubber gasket, and it seems like this piece of metal has the ability to slide up and down that rubber gasket. So you might have to push it up to fill in that gap. I'm kind of going off of the, there's a dirt mark from that washer for my height. So I'll get this guy plugged in again. We'll test it again. So that's lock. that's unlock. Cool. So let's disconnect this. Make sure everything is snapped in completely. Yes. Get this guy snapped in completely. Got one more 10 mil to put back, which is this. And that just threads into the metal bracket.
All right.
All right, so we've taped up our vapor barrier, fixed the holes that we punched in it. This doesn't have to be perfect. I mean, it's already open in many spaces. It's just designed to not get the inside of the door panel wet so that it holds moisture and, you know, stinks or smells moldy. Let's get the door panel here. I'll just poke these two through there. Get that in there. Usually you have to kind of hook the top and then line up the snaps. This one's got a door handle that I need to line up too. So that goes there. That. There we go. All right, so that's in. My door handle's lined up. Can snap this in. Okay, nice and flat. Got our harnesses here. We'll plug in our brake or our door lock and our window. And this just kind of tucks and snaps like that. This is our quarter turn clip. And then we've got our door handle, which goes in like that. And 2 Phillips screws. All right. So now I'll just test everything, make sure it all works. Okay, window goes up and down like it's supposed to. lock and unlock function. I can open it with that door handle, that door handle. Now we get to do a back door. So this one starts to come off the same way. Screw in the door handle, screw in the door handle. Nothing on the edges. So, snaps, lifts up. Remove the plug. Then there's like this right angle. That's pretty neat. Pushes it back here. So my actuator must be back there on the other end of this harness. Peel that back. It looks to be pretty much the same as the other one was. It's just kind of sitting here. There's screws that come from the back side that mount it in. There's a bolt here on the front, 3 bolts on the side. Another one of those, that little green latch, flip it up and pull this rod out. So, should release my actuator. So, obviously the back doors are way easier than the front because they don't have the keyholes, and the door handle connection is actually just a little toggle here, so just way easier. Alright, so I've got my matching mechanism here. And we'll screw this in. Design is honestly kind of stupid in my opinion. It seems like If they just did a screw from this side with a nut on the end, or they made this plastic thing threaded, instead of having to remove the entire actuator, you could slide it over here and unscrew it and put it back together when you were done, and that would be a heck of a lot quicker. Let's test this one real quick. Okay. So that's functional. So when I'm going to slide this up in the door, this is going to have to poke through this hole, and then the end of this rod sticks in here and this snaps down on it. So that's the idea there. Kind of slide this back. So we're there where we need to be. Slide this back. Just kind of gotta move it around until you get it where it needs to be. This time I didn't lose any screws, so that's cool. Not sure how I lose a screw this big. Really don't know. It's not on the door. It's not on the floor. It's not underneath the car. It's not on my workbench. It's not on the cart. No idea. But okay, that is snapped in. Put this 10 mil back in here. Ideally, I'd use black duct tape for this. I don't have any, so using the next best thing should be perfectly fine. in our window switch. Put the lock pin through, hook the top. Snap the bottom. Stick this in there. One screw in the top. And that one's done. That was way quicker than the front door. All right, so we'll test the lock. I had the child locks enabled accidentally. There we go. Okay, so it's functional. Handles are working. That screw is going to drive me nuts. All right, well, I'm going to work on the driver's side. It should be the same as the passenger side, just slightly reversed. I will add to the video if there are any differences. All right, so I said I would show if there was anything different on these, and this is. So the other clips have all been those ones where you kind of squeeze it and it pops out. This has this sliding bracket, so it snaps into here like this, and then that goes down as a retainer. So to open it, you squeeze in on this, and then you pull this back, and then the entire clip kind of pops out. But this is my my last door. Driver's side rear went exactly as the passenger side rear did. This one was exactly like the passenger door in the front. That was the only difference, was that clip. Just trying not to make this video an hour long. People won't want to watch it. So the car's all finished. I pulled it outside. There were two things that I wanted to give an update on. Number one, the screw that I was missing for the door I found in one of the gaps in my concrete floor. So it did end up going back together completely. And then the last thing was I ran into a problem with the driver's side actuator, where I would press the lock button and it wouldn't go down all the way. And what I found was this. So this is the old part, the one that I removed from the car. And this box is fairly open. On the replacement part, there was a piece of plastic that was stuck like at the bottom half. So this box was open from here to here instead of the entire length of the unit. So
Basically the top half was open, the bottom wasn't. And there's like a ball that's on the arm of the lock mechanism that sits in there, and it wasn't moving freely. It was kind of getting bound up. So even though I could push it up and down with my fingers and the ball would kind of snap in and out of that, you know, that plastic piece that was here, I ended up having to just use a knife and, you know, kind of scrape away a little piece of plastic that was there. It looked like it was maybe an error in the process when they were making it. It didn't look like a design flaw, but more so like it just didn't get punched out all the way by the machine. But that's it. So the you know, the parts ended up working properly. The door locks function well. They lock and unlock very quickly. It's not it's not limp anymore, I guess would be the best way to describe it. There are more expensive options out there. The ones I chose from Amazon were pretty inexpensive, but this is also a car that's, you know, 15 years old with 120,000 miles on it, so I don't want to waste a lot of money on it. I replaced all of them, even though they all kind of intermittently worked, some of them better than others, just because I felt it was the right thing to do. And the installation in total took me about an hour and a half, and that includes, you know, looking for the screw that I lost for the passenger door, and taking the driver door apart twice and having to fix that piece that was catching on the mechanism. So I'll post the link to the Amazon listing below. You know, the only tools that I needed for this were Phillips, a T30 Torx, and a 10 millimeter. That was it. Also a knife and some duct tape, I suppose, if you want to include tools and supplies. And that was really about it. So